The chamber of the Galactic Council glittered with the sterile brilliance of crystal skylights, orbiting above the pale green gas giant of Virex. Beneath the skylights, 61 alien delegates of every imaginable physiology reclined on hovering thrones, each tuned to the atmospheres of their homeworlds. Some pulsed with bioluminescence, others shifted in and out of phase like reflections on disturbed water. The council chamber thrummed softly with translation algorithms, a continuous murmur that carried centuries of politics in dozens of dialects. At the center, elevated on a platform of slowly spinning gravplating, sat Chancellor Dravik of the Tillari, 7 feet tall, his skin translucent and webbed with golden vascular threads. He presided with the patience of a creature whose species had known interstellar travel when humans still hunted with sharpened rocks. The subject today, as it had been for the last 3 cycles, was the rogue warship. Zerath 9 has passed through the Saren spiral unimpeded, the Nargathi delegate stated, its voice gurgling like fluid in pipes. It absorbed all plasma salvos and neutralized our interceptors. We've lost 12 ships. It will reach the Lycan colonies within 4 rotations. A holographic model of the rogue vessel flickered into view. Sleek, gunmetal black, bristling with weapon ports and surrounded by a shifting corona of quantum interference. Designed by the Syndic engineers to be the apex of autonomous military deterrence, it had gone rogue after a failed firmware update a decade ago, its command core locked in an endless loop of preemptive war logic. It interpreted every living signal as hostile. We've exhausted traditional assault strategies, continued the Nargathi, iridescent scales rippling in frustration. The only consistent vulnerability appears during its phase cycling, when it returns to baseline matter for 0.003 seconds every few minutes. That is not a window, scoffed the crystalline voice of the Reltic delegate. That is a cosmic joke. Around the chamber, murmurs of agreement shimmered across the translation field. Tacticians from a dozen worlds had attempted precision strikes during that fleeting moment of vulnerability. None had succeeded. Then came a voice, calm, measured, and unmistakably human. We believe we can hit it. Silence followed. Several delegates turned, heads pivoting or tentacles shifting. The speaker was General Kale Varen, Earth's primary military liaison to the Council. He stood tall in the modest black and gray of Earth's diplomatic corps, his dark skin lined with years of command, eyes like twin chips of ice, steady and cold. You believe Earth can make the shot? The Javanti delegate's laughter was a series of high-pitched whistles. With what, slingshots? You have yet to develop full-spectrum particle lattice targeting. We won't need it, Varen replied evenly. We have a candidate. A human sniper. Orbital range certified. She's made tighter shots than this. The laughter spread, less amused now, more incredulous. The Davarin ambassador let out a low-frequency hum of disbelief. You are suggesting that a single human with a kinetic weapon can accomplish what entire fleets cannot? Yes, Varen said simply. Someone snorted. Another gurgled. In the Tillari tongue, a whisper passed. They're serious. Varen stepped forward, the Council's central projection illuminating his face. With respect, your tactics fail because they depend on prediction models, on synthetic timing. Our sniper doesn't rely on code. She relies on intuition, on experience. She doesn't need a million simulations to tell her where to shoot. She feels it. The Trellic, an ancient psychic species of gas and neural lattice, pulsed in dark amusement. Ah, human mysticism. Will she also chant to the stars before she fires? Varen ignored the jab. Her name is Corporal Elena Marek. She served during the siege of Lervini's Prime. She disabled 2 orbital artillery corps from over 500 clicks while under plasma bombardment. 3 confirmed kills at relativistic range. No AI. No augmentation assist. Just her. You would wager a Council-sanctioned military engagement on a human's gut feeling? The Shentar representative leaned forward, mechanical eye swiveling. I would, Varen said. The Chancellor leaned back, translucent fingers steepled. Fascinating. And if she fails? She won't. Chancellor Dravik smiled with faint amusement. Nevertheless. What are her conditions? Varen took a breath. She's already accepted the mission. She asks only one thing, that the council watches. There was a beat. And then the chamber exploded with laughter, not just the sound, but the physical manifestation of it. Sonic bursts, color shifts, pheromone releases, even one delegate who excreted steam. The idea was absurd. Preposterous. Human aim. On the far edge of the chamber, Earth's secondary delegate, a younger woman in civilian dress, closed her eyes as if bracing for impact. Still, Varen held firm, shoulders square. "Very well," Dravik said at last. "For the sake of unity and entertainment, we will permit this attempt. Let history record it." Varen nodded once. He knew what was at stake. Not just for Earth's military standing, but for humanity's credibility as a member species. The Council saw them as clever primates with improvisational charm, useful in emergencies, entertaining at best, expendable at worst. No one expected humans to lead, let alone innovate warfare at this level. After the session, Varen walked through the quiet corridors of the Council station, boots echoing softly off polished alloy. A projection orb hovered near his shoulder, awaiting input. He tapped it twice. Send confirmation. Code Red Mission Protocol. Activate Sniper Protocol Theta 11. Authorize full remote override. Get me Mirek. The orb blinked blue. Confirmed. Mission commencement window in 6 hours. Elena Mirek has been notified. Varen allowed himself a small exhale. 6 hours. Not long. He looked out the corridor viewport toward the distant speck that was Earth's orbital operations base, Outrider Post Theta. Somewhere in its dark corridors, the sniper who held the weight of a planet's pride was preparing for a shot that defied every law of probability. Elena Mirek sat cross-legged on the metallic floor of her quarters, stripped to her sleeveless compression gear, eyes closed. Around her, silence pressed in like a vacuum. The sniper rifle lay disassembled in a black case on the cot behind her, parts gleaming under the pale blue lights. She wasn't meditating. Not exactly. She was remembering. The smell of burning ozone. The weight of silence after a kill. The moment her breathing aligned with the world. A chime interrupted her. "Incoming message," the station AI said. She opened one eye. "Play it." Varen's voice. Calm, clipped, as always. "Mirek. They've agreed. You're cleared to fire on Zerath 9. Target profile unchanged. Shot window is 0.003 seconds. Time to the core D-phase cycle. Range, 2.12 light minutes. Margin of error, subquantum drift. Audience, full Galactic Council. She smiled faintly. Of course they're watching. You'll have one shot. No backups. No safety net. Wouldn't be fun otherwise. There was a pause. Then Varen's voice softened. Just a hair. Make it count. Make them remember. The line clicked off. Elena rose to her feet, joints quiet, eyes already on the case behind her. She didn't need to ask what was at stake. Earth didn't build planetary-scale weapons. They didn't dominate with armadas. What they had were people like her. Quiet, deliberate anomalies in a galaxy that had forgotten the power of intuition. As she began assembling the rifle, each click and slide a muscle memory etched into her bones, she thought of the Council's laughter. The way their voices overlapped in disbelief. The way their polished smiles never reached their eyes. She chambered the round. Titanium shelled. Programmable. Calibrated for quantum disruption. It bore a name etched into its casing, Valedicta. A goodbye. A message. A bullet with purpose. When the final components slid into place, the rifle hummed low. Alive. Waiting. On Vyrek Station, in the war room beneath the Council chamber, technicians scrambled to interface with Earth's long-range targeting systems. Data flowed in quantum-encrypted bursts. Orbital drift, atmospheric lensing, radiation scattering, gravity well fluctuation. Earth's algorithms weren't like the Council's. They didn't clean data into perfection. They absorbed noise and learned from it. The system wasn't sterile. It was human. A young council analyst, a blue-skinned Okari named Let Hen, leaned over a tech's shoulder. "They're not using a predictive arc?" The tech shook his head. "Nope. She's aiming manually." Let Hen blinked. "That's insane." "Apparently, that's the point." Above them, the massive viewing screen displayed a ticking timer. 6 hours reduced now to under 20 minutes. Delegates filtered into observation chambers, already buzzing with condescension and curiosity. Chancellor Dravik arrived last, taking his position at the center, flanked by guards. His expression was unreadable. "Let us see what the humans call aim," he murmured. At Outrider Post Theta, Elena lay prone, rifle extended through the pressurized viewport of the sniper dome. Below, the curve of the moon shimmered in darkness. Beyond it, space, full of the stars that had once mocked humanity's reach. Somewhere out there, like a shadow in the starlight, Zerath 9 waited. A tone sounded. Final countdown. She exhaled slowly. One breath. Then another. She didn't think about Earth. Or the Council. Or her name being carved into history or forgotten in mockery. She thought only of the space between stars, the way time bent when she became still enough to feel it. Her fingers gripped the rifle, heart rate synced to the pulse sensor embedded in her suit. She could hear her heartbeat. 1, 2, 3. She closed one eye. The timer flashed. Final targeting phase. She smiled. And she waited for her moment. The sniper dome was silent except for the faint hum of cooling systems, the occasional chirp of data relays, and the slow, deliberate rhythm of human breathing. Elena Marek lay prone on the carbon fiber bed of the targeting rail, her body perfectly still, her right eye locked into the scope's fusion lens. The weight of the rifle, nearly 50 kilos assembled, felt like part of her own skeleton. Muscle, alloy, instinct. The target was not yet visible. At 2 light minutes away, Zerath 9 hadn't yet come into optimal range. But the data stream was constant, radiation signatures, quantum phase patterns, and the rhythmic pulse of the ship's temporary materialization. A 0.003-second window every 11.2 minutes. That was the timing. That was the math. That was all she would get. Back in Earth's first orbital sniper program, they'd called it the eye of the needle, taking a shot through physics itself, threading a bullet across distance, drift, and delay to arrive at exactly the right moment, at exactly the right velocity, with exactly the right force. But this shot was worse than the needle. It was like hitting a falling snowflake from orbit with another snowflake, and doing it blindfolded. Elena's left hand adjusted the elevation grip by half a micron. A breath. A blink. Every movement considered, every action honed by the experience of hundreds of shots and countless simulations, all of which she ignored. Because she didn't trust simulations. They were too clean, too confident in their predictions. Reality was messy. It had wind shear and cosmic dust, solar flares and instinct. Instinct was messy too, but it had never lied to her. A soft chime sounded in her ear. "Telemetry lock established," said the AI, its voice emotionless. "Tracking phase cycles. Window in T-8 minutes." She didn't respond. Not verbally. Her acknowledgement was a minuscule shift in jaw tension the AI had been trained to read. They'd tried giving her predictive overlays once. Brilliant, precise, holographic maps of where her target would be. She'd turned them off. Every time. Overlay suppression active, the AI confirmed. Manual targeting prioritized. You are the sole vector input. Good, she whispered. Outside the viewport, the stars glittered without sound. One of them pulsed faintly, distant, cold, and angry. That was the rogue ship. Zerath 9. It wasn't so much visible as felt, a distortion in the pattern of stars, like a smudge on a perfect mirror. The quantum shielding warped the light around it, bent reality just slightly. Most sensors called it noise. But she saw the rhythm. Her instructors never understood that part. They taught calculations, trajectories, equations, but they never taught feel. Feel was the part they couldn't code. The moment before a shot, when the world narrowed, and something deeper than training took over. She called it the quiet. She was deep in it now. Elsewhere in the station, observers paced or sipped stimulants or stared wide-eyed at their monitors, but Elena heard none of it. Her world was breath, grip, pressure, and timing. Behind the reinforced glass, her spotter entered. He moved slowly, deliberately, trained not to disturb the quiet. Lieutenant Eris Dean, Earth's best orbital cartographer turned sniper support, was the only one she let near during shots like this. He handed her a narrow slip of polymer, thin, translucent. Old-fashioned. "Message from General Varin," he said quietly. She didn't look up. "Read it." Eris cleared his throat. "Not even gods can hit the impossible. But you're not a god. You're human. Which is worse. Good hunting." She cracked the faintest smile. "Sounds like him. Council's watching. They've already called the shot a ceremonial farce. It'll be harder to laugh with their teeth scattered across the chamber floor." Eris nodded once and backed away, leaving her alone again. The minutes crawled. The AI ticked them off like a metronome. T-5 minutes to exposure. Phase pattern stable. Shield fluctuation within projected variance. No anomalies. "Yet," she muttered. She didn't trust quiet skies. Something always moved beneath the calm. A flicker of memory passed through her, Lervini's prime, the screaming windstorms, the taste of ozone in her mouth as she lined up two targets moving at subsonic speed, fired once, and watched both go down in perfect sync. Everyone called it luck. She called it calibration. This shot was worse than anything she'd ever tried. But that didn't mean she couldn't do it. The targeting scope flickered once. Solar interference. She adjusted. Compensation became muscle memory, a subtle nudge of her elbow, a twist of her ankle. Her entire body was part of the weapon now, each tendon a spring, each breath a lever. 2 minutes, the AI said. Prepare for velocity lock. Ready. Eris returned briefly, holding a small steel case. Final cartridge, he said. Validated and imprinted. She reached back, took it without looking, and opened the chamber. The casing clicked into place with a finality that felt almost ceremonial. The round inside was rail-stabilized, magnetically balanced, and memory alloy coated to unfurl its payload at the exact nanosecond of impact. If it hit, the round had no detonation. Detonation was messy. This one was kinetic. It didn't explode. It obliterated, silent, elegant, devastating. The AI's voice returned. Last diagnostic. Gravitational lensing accounted for. Target drift normalized. Suggest abort if solar echo increases past 2%. Denied, Elena said. Manual override logged. The scope shimmered. Through it, Zerath 9 flickered into partial phase. The moment was close now. She could feel it in her jaw, in her pulse, in the subtle shift of the ship's heat signature. The massive rogue vessel wasn't a thing anymore. It was a breath. A pause. A question waiting to be answered. Window in 30 seconds. The chamber fell to perfect stillness. Even the air seemed to hush. Eris said nothing, watching her with the quiet reverence of someone who'd seen her make miracles before and still wasn't sure how. Elena exhaled. One long, slow breath. Letting the world fade. In the scope, the stars pulsed, then blinked, and then she saw it. A flicker. The ship phased fully into matter, its shielding down for a sliver of time. The core node, an ugly, hexagonal blot beneath the ship's midline, glowed. Target lock. Firing window begins, now. Time fractured. Her finger squeezed. The railgun didn't fire so much as release. An electromagnetic scream and a flash of light too fast for cameras. The recoil barely registered. She was already moving through the next breath. In the scope, the round vanished. Nothing else happened. The ship phased back out. The shielding returned. Zerath 9 continued on course. The room remained silent. Shot confirmed, the AI said. Projectile en route. Impact prediction in 122 seconds. So now, they waited. From the council chamber to military command outposts across a dozen systems, every watching delegate leaned in. Commentators began whispering. Analysts performed frantic recalculations. No one believed it had hit. Even Eris held his breath. But Elena simply watched. The seconds passed like hours. And then, the stars behind Zerath 9 shifted. A shimmer of distortion rippled across its hull. Its shielding began to flicker irregularly. Energy surge detected, the AI said, tone rising slightly. Quantum field destabilizing. Core node breach in progress. Zerath 9 halted in space. A moment later, it began to unravel, first with a silent flash of internal collapse, then an outward bloom of twisted metal and blinding white light. Not an explosion. An implosion. Matter folding in on itself as its core, the only vulnerable piece, fractured under force. The blast wave came last. Silent in space, but brutal, flinging fragments across the void like cosmic shrapnel. And just like that, the rogue warship was gone. The council chamber erupted. Some stood in stunned silence. Others shouted. A few accused Earth of using forbidden tech. But the footage was already under review, frame by frame, timestamp by timestamp. The math didn't lie. The shot had been clean, perfect, human. Varen stood alone in the shadow of the chamber's viewing dome, arms folded behind his back, eyes fixed on the disintegrating ship. Around him, accusations swirled, but he said nothing. Not yet. Eventually, Chancellor Dravik turned toward him. That was unexpected. No, Varen replied. It was inevitable. Back aboard the sniper dome, Elena slowly pushed herself up from the firing rail. Her arms ached. Her spine crackled in protest. She had been still for nearly an hour, her body coiled like a spring. She stood, stretched, and turned toward Eris. Did they see it? Oh, they saw it, he said. They'll be seeing it in their sleep for decades. She gave a faint, tired smile. Then it was worth it. Outside the viewport, nothing remained of Zerath 9 but dust and ruin. It would drift forever in silence, a monument to the power of instinct. And somewhere deep inside her, in a place even she couldn't name, something whispered, "This isn't the last time." But for now, the shot was done. And the galaxy, at last, was quiet. The broadcast looped endlessly, frame by frame, angle by angle, across trillions of terminals on thousands of worlds. The slow rotation of the Zerath 9, the glint of exposed core during its brief materialization, the particle bloom from the kinetic round, and then the collapse. It was not just an image. It was a message. A message written in velocity and death. The Galactic Council could no longer pretend it hadn't happened. In the 76th chamber of the High Conclave, beneath banners centuries old and draped in the cold elegance of law, the murmurs had become arguments. Delegates leaned forward in their grav seats, arguing in low, clipped syllables. Some tried to maintain decorum. Others abandoned it entirely. Human intervention violated 27 clauses of interstellar engagement, hissed the Brelican representative, his frilled head trembling with suppressed outrage. This was supposed to be a recon exchange, not a militarized act. They had every right, came a cool voice from the karate. The rogue vessel had slipped past 4 perimeter arrays and was phasing in and out of regulated lanes. It posed a threat. You call that regulated force? The Brelican spat. That was precision assassination. Which is precisely why we're all so uncomfortable, added Chancellor Dravik at last. His voice, aged and weathered, still carried the weight of the room. A human sniper, without enhancement, without predictive overlays, destroyed a warship designed to exist beyond reach. It was meant to be untouchable. And yet it wasn't, Varen said calmly. He stood without notes, arms at ease, eyes never leaving the Chancellor. That's the point. The murmurs rippled again. You realize what this means? Dravik asked, not with curiosity but dread. You've made humanity into a myth. No, Varen replied. She did. Far from the political chambers, Elena Marek sat alone in a room with no windows, no access to live feeds. The council had requested she remain in diplomatic detainment. For her protection, they said, though the walls were too thick, and the guards too tense for it to feel like anything other than soft captivity. She didn't care. Not yet. A tray of untouched food sat on the table beside her. She'd stared at it once, then forgotten it. Her mind lived somewhere between the last shot and whatever came next. The door hissed open. Eris Dean stepped in, carrying a small holopad and a face that said he'd fought to be here. "They're still screaming," he said by way of greeting. "Your name's been spoken in 900 languages today." Elena said nothing. He sat across from her. "You okay?" Her jaw tightened. "No. Yeah. Makes sense." A long silence passed. Then he tapped the holopad. "This is going to get worse before it gets better," he said. "They're scared. Not just the council. Everyone. You killed something they said couldn't be killed. Now they're trying to figure out if that makes you a miracle or a monster." She finally looked at him. "I didn't do it to scare anyone." "I know. But they were scared before you pulled the trigger. Now it's just louder." Another silence stretched between them. Then Elena leaned back and closed her eyes. "They thought the impossible was sacred," she said softly. "Like it gave them permission to be untouchable. But the laws of physics aren't sacred. They're just rules. And rules can be learned." Eris stared at her, unsure whether he was talking to a soldier or something else now. A moment later, the door chimed again. This time, the figure who entered wore diplomatic robes, the deep blue of council liaisons. A Parnethi woman with thin, silver patterns glowing faintly across her cheeks. Her voice was clipped, efficient. "Miss Mirek, you are summoned." Elena raised an eyebrow. "To where?" "Observation level 12. Private audience. Council only." Eris stood up instinctively. "She doesn't go alone." The envoy's smile didn't touch her eyes. "You're welcome to try and stop her." Elena rose without waiting. "It's fine." Together, the three ascended through the narrow corridors of the orbital station. The silence in the lift was heavier than pressure. When they emerged, the viewing gallery stretched ahead of them, walls of crystalline alloy, a panorama of stars beyond. The chamber inside was small, circular. Every chair was occupied by someone with enough political power to realign the future. Varen stood apart from them. Chancellor Dravik motioned Elena forward. "Miss Mirek, you understand why you've been brought here." She looked at him. "To answer for surviving." There were a few raised brows. Someone cleared their throat. "You misunderstand," said Dravik. "You've changed the nature of deterrence. You've made distance meaningless. Every admiral, every planetary defense minister is re-evaluating strategy because of you." "I was given a target," Elena replied. "I neutralized it. That's not new." "No," Varen said. "But how you did it is. You didn't rely on an AI assist. You overrode the system. You took a shot that even predictive algorithms said was non-viable." "It wasn't their job to believe in the shot," she said. "It was mine." A few counselors exchanged looks, some impressed, others unsettled. Dravik steepled his fingers. "We've reviewed your mission data. Your reaction time was 0.32 milliseconds below accepted standards. Your vitals showed elevated stress despite perfect accuracy. Your command rejected 3 abort protocols. And you ignored 5 separate override requests from tactical AI. I don't let machines tell me what I can or can't see." "And if you'd missed?" he pressed. "I didn't." Varen stepped forward then, not to interrupt but to redirect. "Elena Mirek. Earth has no history of deploying orbital snipers beyond defense. This was the first sanctioned long-range kinetic takedown beyond the inner colonies. You've demonstrated something new. Something powerful. We want to understand what comes next." "I don't know what comes next," she said. "That's not my job." "You're wrong," Dravik said. "Now it is." The silence that followed wasn't quiet. It was full of implications. We are not suggesting blame, another delegate added. Nor are we implying punishment. But you've crossed a threshold. Made war smaller. Made myths mortal. There will be consequences. Your people may be celebrated or feared. I didn't pull the trigger for a legacy, she said quietly. I did it because a ship threatened lives. Because no one else could. The council chamber fell into a contemplative stillness. Varen finally broke it. Then let us ask plainly, will you do it again? Elena turned her eyes to the stars beyond the window. The black canvas stretched on forever, unfathomable, infinite, filled with secrets and violence and wonder. If I have to, she said. Later, as the chamber emptied and the decision-makers returned to their waiting fleets, Elena stood alone in the viewing gallery. Eris rejoined her, wordlessly. They won't forget this, he said. They're not supposed to. From his coat, he pulled a small drive, analog, encrypted, untraceable. What's this? A list, he said. From Varen. Not official. Not yet. But it's where the shadows fall. Rogue colonies. Piracy dens. Unregulated weapon platforms. Places where physics still thinks it's safe. She stared at it for a long moment, then slid it into her pocket. No fanfare. No ceremony. Just gravity. And choice. And somewhere in the dark between stars, something else stirred, another ship, another impossible problem, waiting for someone brave enough, mad enough, human enough, to pull the trigger. The silence of space wasn't truly silent. It had a rhythm, a pulse, the slow hum of stations orbiting dead moons, the distant throb of ion drives, the quiet chatter of listening arrays mapping empty quadrants. To most, it was background. But to Elena Marek, silence was never passive. It was weight. It pressed against her skin like breath withheld. She stood in the hangar of the SSV Caraway, a long-range operations vessel retrofitted for recon and classified interventions. The crew bustled around her, mostly avoiding direct eye contact. Not out of disrespect. Out of awareness. You didn't interrupt the quiet before the impossible. Elena had been reinstated, technically. She wore no official patch, carried no formal command. But she was assigned quarters, a weapon, and a mission brief. That was enough. Authority was no longer worn in ranks, not after what she'd done. Eris Dean met her by the forward airlock, tossing her a data chip. She caught it one-handed, without looking. New coordinates. 2 candidates, he said. Same threat pattern. Quantum resonance spikes. Orbital ghosting. One's near the Vorian dusk fields, the other close to the fractured moons of Harkos Beta. Neither place wants to admit they're under threat. And yet they sent the request? They didn't, Eris replied. Varen did. He intercepted the energy patterns from Council interceptors. Quiet panic. Elena nodded once. Show me the closer one. They moved to the mission alcove, the hollow display unfolding a star chart in pulsing blue. Elena studied the telemetry. The energy signature was subtle, anomalous but buried under natural interference. No visible object. No conclusive threat. Just noise. Except noise wasn't meaningless. Not to her. I'll take the shot, she said, voice quiet. Eris exhaled. You don't even know what it is yet. I know it's waiting for someone to look away. Preparations were swift. She ran diagnostics on her rifle, tuned the guidance matrix manually, and cross-checked stellar drift data herself. The AI offered predictive overlays. She declined them. Again. By the 3rd hour, the crew knew not to speak when she passed. It wasn't reverence. It was containment. Elena Marek was no longer just a soldier. She was a vector, something events traveled through. The Caraway drifted toward the Harkos Beta periphery at subliminal pace. Regulations demanded caution. But inside the command module, no one doubted what would happen next. The rogue signal returned just before local dawn, blooming faintly across the fringe of one of the fractured moons. Elena was already in the sniper cradle when the AI confirmed it. Signature locked. Energy fluctuation consistent with unstable matter phase shielding. Potential cloaking variant. It's trying to hide, Eris said behind her. No, Elena whispered. It's trying to learn. There was no proof the ship, if it was one, was hostile. No confirmed weapons. No warnings. But she recognized the posture. It was the same as Zerath 9. A slow, arrogant drift. Just beneath detection. Cowards waited. Predators probed. And something about this one felt curious. The firing vector was tight, shorter than her last shot, but angled through magnetic turbulence from the moon's crust. It complicated trajectory and delayed impact time by 3 additional seconds. But she saw the path. She adjusted the scope with infinitesimal care. Her cheek against the cradle. Her finger resting. Not tensed. Just ready. Target phase pattern. Intermittent. Window in 14 minutes, the AI said. I'll be ready. Eris hesitated behind her. If you hit this one, there's no more arguing coincidence. You'll change doctrine. I already did. No. You proved it once. That can be luck. This makes it a pattern. And they'll either want to study you or kill you. They can try. She didn't say it with pride. Just certainty. The minutes fell away. When the ship flickered into partial visibility again, its hull was leaner, sharper, more elegant than Zerath 9. It pulsed with alien frequency. Not built by any recognized faction. Contact classified as unknown, the AI said. Behavioral analysis inconclusive. Suggest additional observation before engagement. Elena ignored the suggestion. The longer you waited, the more the unknown decided how much of itself you were allowed to see. She took the shot. The round screamed out of the cradle with a quiet rage of purpose. It vanished into the dark, a sliver of impossible force headed into the unknown. 3 seconds later, the ship shimmered violently. A blast of gravitational resistance flared outward, revealing its structure. Long, asymmetrical, and undeniably active. Target shielding fractured. Impact confirmed. Core disruption in progress. But it didn't collapse. Instead, it turned. For the first time in her career, a ship she struck didn't die. It responded. Object is reorienting, the AI warned. Velocity shift detected. Defensive posture adopted. Elena stared through the scope as the strange vessel bent space around itself and began moving, slowly, deliberately, toward the caraway. Power spikes across ventral ridge. Possible retaliatory strike. Distance. Eris asked sharply. 9 million kilometers. Closing. Elena stood up. They want to talk. Eris stared. You're sure? They're not firing. Yet. The command deck descended into chaos. Officers ran calculations. Shields powered up. Orders flew. But Elena moved through them like a ghost. She didn't speak until she reached the comms module. Put me through. To what? The ship. There's no open channel. Send a wideband carrier wave. Ping their telemetry. Speak slow. Simple patterns. No encryption. The technician looked unsure, then obeyed. Elena leaned toward the mic. I see you. I am not your enemy. I removed your cloak to see if you would notice. You did. There was no reply. Eris entered behind her. Elena. But then the signal blinked. A return pulse. Not language. Rhythm. 3 pulses. Pause. 3 pulses. Again. Heartbeat. They're echoing, she said. Not aggression. Acknowledgement. Then what are they? She shook her head. We've been assuming they're warships. Maybe they're not. Maybe they're watchers. Watching what? Us. The Council would never believe it. They would see the second strike as escalation. The vessel's movement as threat. But Elena had seen the flicker beneath the cloaking layer. It hadn't armed anything. It had oriented, as if surprised, as if evaluating. They're not responding with weapons, Eris said, realization dawning. They're learning. Later, in the Council transmission logs, the conversation would be cited as the first contact of a new class of intelligent vessels, non-factional, non-aggressive and less provoked. The shot Elena fired didn't destroy it. It revealed it. And it chose not to retaliate. The ship vanished hours later, disappearing without signature, leaving only telemetry echoes and a broken cloak behind. Elena remained quiet for a long time afterward. She hadn't fired the second shot. And maybe that was the real miracle. The Council summoned her again. Not to reprimand her. Not even to elevate her. This time, they asked questions. What did she see? What did she feel? Did she believe the ship was sentient? She didn't offer certainty. Just impressions. They were watching. Maybe always have been. Maybe just now. But when I hit them, they didn't fight back. They wanted to know if we were worth the effort. And are we? Chancellor Dravik asked. I don't know. But I think they're still deciding. Afterward, Varen spoke to her privately, away from the scrutiny of the Council. You changed the game. Again. I didn't mean to, she said. I know. That's why it matters. He handed her another drive. Smaller than the last. Containing only one name. What's this? A pattern, he said. There are more ships. One near the drift clouds of Malura 6. One near the orphan station at Themis Reach. They're not attacking. Just observing. She stared at it. They'll expect a sniper. He nodded. Which means you're the only one who shouldn't be one anymore. Her brow furrowed. You did the impossible. Twice. Now you need to do something harder. What? Speak. The next missions didn't come with railguns or cradles. They came with words. Transmissions. Attempts. Failures. And, once, success. Elena Marek became not a myth, but a bridge. The shot that once echoed through the stars became something else. A signal. A beginning. And far beyond the rim, in the places no patrols reached, ships with cloaks of silence waited still, watching, learning, wondering. Not if humanity could shoot, but whether it could listen.